So this video is about gestures. Gestures is one of the most important things in a speech. It's how you punctuate and use your points to describe something that you're talking about or to accent something you're talking about with your body. And so the way we're going to talk about this is by watching parts of a speech right here. The first time we're going to watch it through with the sound so you can hear the point she's making. This is a speech from Nationals in Info from 2016. And so we're going to watch for a moment with the sound, and then we'll talk about, watch it without the sound and talk about what she's doing. So here it is with the sound.
Thin Mints, Samoas, Tagalongs. These aren't just the names of the three most delicious cookies to ever grace our world. They're a way of life. For many of you, these wonderful treats are like Santa Claus. They come once a year, and they bring utter joy and jubilation to everyone they encounter. For me, these cookies are the foundation and backbone of an organization I've been a part of for several years now.
Okay, we'll stop her right there because she's now transitioning to her visual aid. And so let's go back and focus in on some of the different gestures that she does here. So clearly, the first point to say about gestures is that they're typically planned. She's probably done this speech hundreds of times, and the gestures that she's doing, she knows exactly what she's planning to do before she does them. So let's watch her first set of gestures, and we'll talk about it. Okay? So you can see that she lifts her hands in a similar motion on both sides. And what she's doing here is she's listing things. So it's almost like she's holding up her products, one each right here. And then she brings it together when she's describing all of them. Okay? So she has planned how she wants to convey this, and she's doing it very intentionally with her gestures. You see that gesture right there? The kind of hand flat down and then pushing it outwards. She's basically emphasizing the largeness of something or the greatness of something. And that gesture is pretty common for when you're emphasizing something big or large. So if you have something in your speech or you're perhaps saying like, this is the greatest single cookie ever eaten by mankind, you can use a gesture very similar to that. Let's keep watching. Okay, so that right there, she's nodding. She's really emphasizing the importance of something. So let's watch again for the nod. So there's the hand gesture. It's very important. And then she's almost like explaining to you, like secretively, oh my gosh, these are so amazing. These cookies. Okay. All right, there's the common gesture that we've seen again with the one hand. So you can see right here that she turns it though. She goes from explaining something to almost convincing you of something right there, that turn to the upper-handed gesture. And again, the big wide arm movement right there, that's her emphasizing the bigness or the largeness of something. Okay, there's the two hands again, listing out things, and then she's transitioning. So a couple points about this. You can see, one, that after she's done with her gesture, okay, so it's what her hands return comfortably to her sides. They don't stay there for very long, but she's comfortable standing without making a gesture. So some speakers who are more beginners will be constantly making gestures throughout their speech. Gestures, the point of gestures is not to constantly make them, it's to use them to emphasize something. Now, it's okay to frequently use gestures because you can see throughout these first few minutes, she does over 9 gestures. I counted them. There are almost 9 separate gestures for about 20 to 25 seconds of speaking. So she's certainly doing a lot of gestures, and that's perfectly okay. The point here is that she has them planned. So the gestures mean something, and the gestures match what she's saying. And they're also very intentional gestures. And so if we keep watching, we will see more of the similar gestures throughout her speech. Her facial expressions will match her gestures as well. But you can see the most common type is where she lifts her hands, one on each side, and then brings it to the center. That's the most common type of gesture that she does in her speaking. Okay. if you also watch her face, she will use her facial expressions to emphasize points as well. So there's a lot to be learned from just watching other speakers and watching their gestures. But at the end of the day, the most important thing above all else is to plan, to block, to schedule, if you will, your gestures in your own speech. If you just leave it to chance when you go up there to let your gestures just kind of happen as they do, what you'll get is a lot of just hand movements without really any point. And so it's okay to have just one common type of gesture. You don't have to have a lot. But as you can see from hers, her gestures are fairly uniform, but she's using them intentionally. And she's perfectly okay putting her hands down at her side. It's just about varying your structure and having gestures that make sense for what you're saying.